we'll let I think Jim's kind of getting set up here, but we'll let Jim take it away now that he's got a special guest with us.
Almost ready to go, but yes, Mr. Stephen Bardo, I'm sure you're all very familiar with from Big Ten Network, and before that, he was on one of those teams I won't talk about. I was in the building because you were on that team at.
I threw Nick Anderson a pass.
Dang on, man! Jay Edwards wins this game with like 3 seconds to go or something. Jay Edwards
about a second and a half.
Jay Edwards just wins the game for Indiana, and it's like I was in the balcony because I was a student, and so I was getting telegraphs actually on the. I'm just kidding, but then they come down and Illinois wins this game. I'm like, you've got to be. That was, as a student, that was without question the biggest. That was a loss, man. That hurt because that's one I've never seen one sucked out of a win sucked out of you as quickly as that one was, but that had to be fun for you at least.
Oh man, every time you go over to Assembly Hall and get a victory, because the fan base is rabid, so it's tough to go over there and get a victory.
Illinois this year, and I know you're unbiased as a professional, but Illinois, man, they've reloaded. Indiana's getting a lot of talk, I know, deservedly so. Michigan. But I was looking down through the official, unofficial poll last night, and I'm like, I was talking to Mike DeCourcy earlier. I'm like, man, it's leagues deeper than people think. I'm like, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, but then I don't know about Wisconsin yet because they're always sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State seems like they're down, but they've got another Murray kid and his brother. Chris is this one, but if he goes from 7 points a game to 23 like his brother did,
which he very well could in France system. So
and then there's another. But my point is, the Big Ten is deep yet.
It's deep, and there's a lot of unknowns this year. I think there's more unknowns.
Well, that word is the key right there.
Yeah, there's a lot more unknowns this year than there was last year with the transfers coming in. Ohio State with four top 75 freshmen. Illinois with 10 new roster guys, and really 2 players that only played minutes last year returned to the Illini, but their transfers are outstanding. Indiana's got the most returning players, I think, in the upper echelon of the Big Ten, and so that's why people are favoring them. But it's going to be a lot of movement in the league this year.
Indiana added Jalen Hood-Schifino, one of the 4 freshmen have come in, but Malik Renault, I don't know. I'm not in practice, so I don't know how he's been doing up against Race and Trace. It sounds good, but until we see it. But for Indiana, I think they've solidified that second group more. Last year, when the second unit would come in, they lost a lot, and that's not. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. And what can CJ Gunn shoot? Can he be a shooter? Can someone be a shooter? I don't think they don't have to hit 12 threes a game. You just have to be efficient.
They do have to be efficient, but see, here's the thing. I love Xavier Johnson. I think Hood-Schifino, he's a real deal. And Indiana hasn't had a player like Hood-Schifino in a long time. He can create a lot of opportunities. It just depends on how he matures, how he handles adversity at this level. But he's an awfully, awfully talented young man. I look forward to watching him play and seeing the effect that he has on the Hoosiers.
Yeah, it's almost like they have 2 point guards because they both, and I've said this before, they're like just a mix because they can just switch like that 1-2-1 or whatever you want to call it. Both are dynamic playmakers. They can both shoot the ball if they need to, and that is the thing that Indiana missed greatly last year. They have the experience this year, so they have to learn how to win games.
Yeah, I think that will come now because now Mike Woodson's had his goal. They've had the ups and downs. They saw where they struggled last year. Now you come in through a full off season. You got these new freshmen coming in. I think Indiana's poised to really have an outstanding season. Just avoid injury, and I'd like to see Hood-Schifino and Xavier play at the same time.
Oh, I think they will.
Teams that play 2 point guards at one time are very difficult to contain. So I'd like to see that.
I expect them to start together. So we've got Indiana. Do you have a favorite in the league? whether it's Illinois or it's Michigan, most people are probably sticking to those three teams as a favorite. From what I've seen, who's your favorite? It's actually a pick out of a hat, to be honest with you.
No, I think if you're gonna look for a Big Ten champ, it's got to be Indiana, Illinois, Michigan State. I think the wild card in this group that we haven't talked about is Maryland, because Maryland's got 3 returning players, like Dante Scott, and they've got Jameer Young coming in who could really score. And Kevin Will is a really good coach, so
and they're killing it on the recruiting trail too.
Yes. So I think they're going to be a dark horse, an outlier. Nobody's really talking about them, but keep an eye on Maryland.
Illinois is, I mentioned earlier, man, Brad Underwood. They're kind of under the radar because they brought in a lot of players out of the portal. People, I'm not saying they're not known. They're not known in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Illinois is going to be a sneaky team that is going to be just as difficult to not be the champion as anybody else. That's who I picked, actually. I picked Illinois.
Well,
because of experience.
Yeah, experience. And on paper, they look really good. Now, you have to take Matt Meyer and blend him with Terrence Shannon, then blend him with Sky Clark. You see where I'm going? Like, there's a lot of talent on this team. But they'll learn early in that Las Vegas Invitational where I believe they played Baylor first. And then they've got the winner of Virginia. No, they play UCLA first. And then they play the winner or loser of Virginia or Baylor. Those 3 teams right there are picked to win their leagues. And 2 of those are Final Four contenders. So Illinois will find out early.
That would be fun. And when Indiana and Illinois play, there will be, well, if Malik Renault happened to get on the court, there would possibly be 3 former high school teammates on the floor at the same time. Sky Clark played right next to Jalen Hood. They played next to each other a lot, actually. And I think Sky got hurt some, and it forced Jalen to play point. He's more of a 2, but it's just going to be fun watching all this young talent. The Big Ten is. I don't think that there's a conference that's stronger than this league is this year.
Yeah, it's tough to say right now because it's so early, and nobody's been punched in the mouth yet. Because that's what I want to see. When teams get punched in the mouth, can they get up off the mat? And obviously that's a thing that everybody has to take in. And when you got new players, you got freshmen, they're going through it for the first time. And I was a freshman starting in the Big Ten. That's a trial by fire.
And when you were doing it, that was a rough time too, man. That league was loaded.
Freshmen didn't play that much back then.
No.
So now they're expecting freshmen to come in and not miss a beat. So that's going to be interesting.
Trying to think the year you missed playing against Mike Woodson, right? You were.
Yeah, I was older. I mean, I'm
younger.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But that would have been pretty cool. We're here at the Target Center in Minneapolis. 2 years from now, we could be, I don't know, somewhere in Los Angeles with the addition of USC and UCLA.
And I ain't mad about it.
I wouldn't be mad about that. I would definitely trade that for being up here in Santa's workshop, but I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, what your thoughts on the addition of USC and UCLA? And I'm sure that eventually there's going to be something else. But right now it's USC and UCLA. And UCLA, just the tradition of adding that to this league.
Yeah, no, I think it's a huge get for the Big Ten. And look, let's call it what it is. These conferences are gobbling up TV markets. And when you have the opportunity to lock down the number of
Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C.
There it is. And so if these the SEC and the Big Ten are going to expand like we keep hearing, then Atlanta, Miami, these other markets are going to be very favorable, right? And so we'll see what happens. But, I find it fascinating to watch all the movement and all the change. And, it looks like we're going to 2 heavyweights, Big Ten and SEC. So I love the fact that that UCLA and USC joined the Big Ten because I thought Texas was a little premature. I thought Texas had a better fit in the Big Ten than they did in the SEC.
Yes.
But I think what you said, Jim, in terms of it's not over yet. I believe Oregon and Washington will join in the mix at some point.
Seattle
market, right? And so if we look at television markets, that's probably where they'll go.
I don't want to go to Portland again, though. We had to go there last year for the tournament. That was not fun.